Welcome, welcome. Come on in, everybody. Excited to have the group here. I see we're up to 50, 60, lots of folks, 70, 80. Come on, we'll give you a few more seconds to get in here. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Tony. Hello, everybody. Oh, you're already using the chat. I love it. Thanks for coming in. Hi, Ada. Hello, Cynthia. I'm excited too. Wonderful. You're in, you're in. Okay, we're going to give everybody just a few more seconds to get in. I know we've got a short time together, so we're going to pack in a whole bunch. Cannot wait to get into this with you all. While we're getting everybody in here, why don't we go ahead? I'm just going to flip here one more slide here. Why don't you go ahead and put in your role? What are you? Teacher, administrator, parent, whatever you might be doing with all these little youngsters. Come on in. And also, what age are you working with? I see TK, preschool, 4 to 5s, P3 coach. Fantastic, you guys. Wonderful. I love the birth to 5. You got it all in those little babes. We've got directors, we've got teachers, we've got county office folks. Those are my peeps. I come from the Sacramento Office of Education. I am the executive director for early learning here, and super excited to have you. I see some names that I know from either Sacramento or Fresno, Elk Grove. I see Miss Athena McQuarrie, one of my partners in crime. Fantastic. Head Start Fresno, my old stomping grounds. All right, welcome, welcome. I see Susan Walsh is with us. Love it. CPIN. I've got peeps all over the place, you guys. All right, fantastic. We are going to do some really fun stuff with, as you saw, the title here was Math-terpieces, and try to say that 3 times fast, right? So we're going to talk about arts integration with numbers, with shapes, with all kinds of things. Hopefully, you have things that you can add to this. I'm sure you probably do. Some of it might be just some good reminders. Maybe you'll get a new trick or two, but let's get right into it. Thanks for being here. This is what we're after. We want to really see what math skills and art can really combine together. There's so many math skills inherent in art and creative expression. I think you're going to, if you haven't thought about them before, this is a great time to think about them. And coming off of those 5 wonderful things that we just learned in the keynote, I think you can really apply it here. Your toolkit is going to get expanded tonight. That's what we're going to do. All right. So I'm going to keep an eye on the chat. And if you have a burning question and I miss it in the chat, put it in the Q&A for me. Let's start right away. Now, one of my favorite things to do was to work with our teachers with preschool, with TK, with kindergarten, and all the way up really through the elementary grades with how do you use beautiful art prints from the masters and just a really diverse array of artists, past and present. One of my favorites just passed away last year. She was in her 90s, Faith Ringgold. You might be familiar with her from lots of years at UCSD, but beautiful work. We may see a picture of an art print from her in our slide deck tonight. So here we have Matisse. And if you're familiar with Matisse, you might know that he did a lot of cut paper collage. Now, he was a painter. He used all kinds of materials. He used charcoal. But when he got older, and kids love this story, and he was sick, he used to cut, and he would lay in his bed, and would cut out all these pieces. And if you saw this particular Sorrow of the King, it's huge, just takes up a massive wall. And he would have his assistants place the different cutouts and shapes around until he was happy with the design. And then he would tell them, okay, put it there. And the kids love to reenact that. And this is one of my favorites because little children can really get into Matisse. So here's what I want you to do is put in the chat a couple of these answers to these questions we have on the slide. What are the maths? And you'll notice I'm using kind of the British way of saying maths, because there are many, right? What maths are highlighted in a print like this, or a mixed media, a cut paper collage from Henri Matisse? Okay, great. We've got shapes going. What else you got? Geometric patterns, spatial, beautiful. Okay, you're in there. Contrast. Love, love, love it. Okay. How might we build oral language and math for kiddos? And you, even when you're listing kind of those math highlights, you're including great vocabulary. So keep it up. I see colors, shapes, numbers, layers, left and right. So you've got directional. Oh, love that, Michelle. Thank you. You guys are all over this. I cannot believe it's 7:15 on a school night and the brains are moving. How might you use this type of art to inspire children to create their own? And I love Grace's putting measurement in there. It's very fun to tell kids about how large this original is. When you look up and do a little research on some of the art prints, you can get digital versions super easy, right? But you can also buy for pretty cheap from a couple of places posters of these prints, and they're not the like $30 ones. They're like $6 and they're beautiful, laminated, all that kind of good stuff. But when you say we're just looking at a reproduction and we clap it out, reproduction, right? A copy, then we want to talk about the real art that's hanging in some great museum all over the world, right? So yes, you've got storytelling, you got questions like, what is happening in this picture? What do you see? What do you think? What does it make you wonder? Oh, you guys are all over this. You don't need me. Look at this. Can you see the different shades? And I love to teach them about tints and shades, Susan. So tints being where we add white to a color, like blue, and we see a couple of different blue tints in there, and also shades where we add a little bit of black, and having kids actually mix those colors. And we're adding a little science in there to boot. Okay, we can look at this probably for the entire time, but we're going to keep going because we have lots of different cool things to look at. Let's talk geometry, right? So recognizing, naming, and describing shapes. Does that sound like the new PTKLFs? Well, and the old preschool foundations too, but we're going to talk about the new PTKLFs. And as you think about your kindergartners, those of you who work with that little bit older, getting into the middle of our P3 continuum, you have standards that absolutely speak to these. So let's see, what could we think about? Now, this is of Diego Rivera print or painting. And in the past, and the pictures that you see are all legitimate, authentic pictures of some of these kids, or some of these were taken, like 10 years ago. They may be graduating high school by now, but some really cool, authentic pictures, not just kind of taken off the internet. So I want you to appreciate that most of these come from Fresno Unified and Twin Rivers. Very, very diverse, 90%, 88 to 90% kids coming from impoverished communities, and they are stars with this. This goes back to high expectations, right? Okay, so, Evelina, I love that you said that it reminds you of your childhood, because this is where we learn about each other's cultures, and we learn about each other's languages and where we come from. So the math here, when we're looking at geometry, and you can see here, Matisse, back to our other artists that we've looked at, you can see the snail. Children love when they can see something that they think, oh, I can do that. I have confidence in that. Here is this really famous artist from, we've looked at historically how important he was over the 1900s. And the snail is really just a bunch of kind of cut out shapes. If you feel like you always have to cut out squares and triangles and circles and then let children, give them the scissors, let them have at it. And look, here we had this incredible artist of the of the 20th century. And those don't look like perfect geometric shapes that we see, right? This is where it's at. I'm so excited to keep going and show you some more. From the inspiration of the snail, we had kiddos grab paper plates and start doing with their little tissue papers and trying to figure out what kind of color patterns they would like to do. You can have counting, you can have patterning, and you can just have complete just artistic expression. I love giving kids just a really individual opportunity. Okay, let's try a Picasso. I know probably everybody's heard of Picasso. What math concepts do you notice here? Go ahead and throw them in the chat for me. And I will tell you, as you're doing that, this is one of my, if you've ever done a tableau, which is this, like basically acting it out, right? So you can have some little instruments, you can have some fun shapes that they can turn into hats and guitars and that kind of thing. And then they stand, you have 3 kids stand in this sort of little frame, right? And you take a picture and you have created a tableau of 3 musicians, and that's the name of this Picasso. So I see lots of, love this idea of the music symbols that you're seeing. As a pianist myself, this is really a fun one to bring in the music aspects, which of course have so many things, rhythm and beat, steady beat, very mathematical concepts. Yep, figures and people, right? So you're looking at how we actually see them. They don't have to look exactly like people, but we know that those are 3 figures, right? Beautiful shapes and symbols, lots of patterns to pick out. Yes, I love this prepositional abstraction. You are getting SAT words coming at us. That's fabulous. And Susan, the first time I did not see that dog in the background, and it was a kiddo who actually pointed that out. I was doing this actually with 4th graders. You can use this with all ages, from little all the way through grad school, through adults. But yes, I love that dog in the back. It's really fun to see what people see. Okay, you guys are seeing tons with Picasso. Let's talk about number sense a little bit. So I want to take, we all talk about counting and cardinality, right? Remember, cardinality is when you ask the how many question at the end. So when children are counting for you, are you thinking about, do they really understand number sense in terms of being able to know that that last number names the set, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How many? 5. If they have to recount it again, they maybe aren't quite there with their cardinality. So that's one thing I always like to say, throw that question in there. But we're going to talk actually, before I get to subitizing, this is a really fun one. Let me make that a little larger for you. So how many different ways can you use this Diego Rivera, which is La Piñata? And I love, there's a read aloud, Hooray, a Piñata, that I love to pair with this art print. But how could you use this? Could you count the Piñata streamers? You certainly do, right? You could do the cones. You can do the people. Yes, Jessica. Yep, you can actually do estimation. Let's guess, how many people do we think we see? And then let's count them. Love that idea. And then, yes, of course, you can do other things besides counting. You can add in the patterns. You can replicate it in creative 3D. And we'll see a few pictures in a few minutes. This is a phenomenal painting to use. And then you can throw in, of course, all kinds of art pieces, like we go back to tints and shades. We can talk about science. We can talk about light. Where do you think the light is coming from? We can see this glowing that's coming from right in the middle where all the kids are digging into the candy. How many children are there? How many red things do you see? Oh my gosh, it's absolutely unlimited. I love this idea of looking at the clothing and the shapes. How many times have you come across kiddos who say, you draw it for me? Can you draw it for me? And what I love to do is say, well, what do you want to draw? Well, I want to draw a cat. So we look at a picture of a cat and we see there's a circle, it's a round shaped head, and we see two triangles, and it builds that confidence for them to try it out themselves. I don't draw for kids. I'm like, no, 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 no. We're going to do this together and you can see this and let's build some confidence. And they will then do it. Sometimes it just takes a little prodding. Here we're doing the opposite and we're saying, here's already this great Mexican artist and he was a big man, big Diego Rivera, and he did these beautiful big murals. And if you're feeling a little, kitschy, you can get a little step ladder and set up a big butcher paper, and don't tell licensing, but you can have the kids stand and pretend they're doing a big mural on a small step ladder. Hey, risky play, right? You got to do it. But this is a great place to say, what shapes do we see? It's a nice reverse way of trying to create the art by shapes. Now we're looking at the art for shapes, and you can go back and forth with that. Telling the kids this is what professional artists do and calling them artists and mathematicians and scientists. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it makes them feel like, well, they do it, then I can too. Yes, the books piece is so important to me. And we are so lucky to have so many beautiful children's books that are around these really wonderful artists and artists from very varied cultures, right? And I think that's a really important piece too. One thing, if you've ever tried, is counting collections. And you can do it kind of in an artsy form if you like. So this is one way that a teacher did that I knew a long time ago, and I wanted to show it to you. I just kind of threw it into the middle of the slide deck here. So take a moment to look at that, and you can do this as a class project. What are all the artsy things that we can find? What are all the natural things we can find? Let's go outside. Yep, I love counting collections, and Linda, you are so right on. It is very simple, but it is very impactful. I think you'll love it. If you haven't tried it, a beautiful way to bring that community of learners approach to your classroom. Doesn't matter the age. I'm telling you, this works for little to big. Okay, let's think about subitizing. Now, subitizing is often, you'll see it in this kind of format where somebody will show a card with dots and then they'll take it away really fast, like after just a few seconds. And this is a really important part of number sense where kids learn to instantaneously be able to say, I see 3 without counting. And it's a beautiful way to see what number do I go up to for preschool? It depends on the kids. If you look at trajectories.org, learningtrajectories.org, Doug Clements suggests a progression. And depending on, 4 to 5 years old, 3 to 4 to 5 years old, they can do up to 5. So, it is something that people can get really surprised by, that they can do it pretty well. But up to 5, I think is actually really doable. So I want to kind of show you. So practice this. So we show it for a few seconds and then it's gone. And how many did you see? You saw 5, right? Okay. Now, often we see it in a shape like this because we know dice look like this, die look like this, right? So different configurations are really good to use. But guess what? You can actually use an art print. So if I say, I'm going to show you an art print, pretend it wasn't even up there. How many cups? Let's go back. Right? So we'll say, oh, I saw 3 blue cups. Or we could do the puppies. I saw 3 puppies. So, you could make it really fun and magical, like a magician. And if you've got the print itself in kind of, hardcore poster, you could hold up a little cloth in front of it and then whip it away and then whip it back and, have some fun with it. Oh goodness, Wendy, that is the 3 puppies one is, I think it's Matisse, but I think it's Matisse, but I could be wrong. He did do paintings similar to this. All right, let's talk about patterns, sorting, sequencing. What do you see up on the slide? Paint chips, loose puzzles. How many you have you had the I I'm probably going to get thrown out of Lowe's and Home Depot the next time I go. Oh, it is going. You're right. Thank you very much. You are so right. Thank you for all my artist friends here. It is Paul Gauguin. Thank you very much. Three puppies. Ah, I love all of you for correcting me. Love that. Thank you so much. Um, so back to our puzzle pieces and paint chips. So, I go in and I take these big old stacks of paint chips and pretend like I'm, going to paint all the houses that I own. Okay, I own one. So, so, but it's a great way to grab and use in your classrooms when you have puzzles where you've lost pieces. I'm a puzzler, jigsaw puzzler. I have a bunch of puzzles. Sometimes I come across a puzzle where over time I've just lost some pieces. So I use them for sorting, patterning, creating, counting. It is such a fun way to use. You can use the paint chips for learning about tints and shades, like we talked about. Not necessarily that math, but yes, you can go to the thrift store because you know that they've lost pieces. Perfect place you can get them for 75 cents. So think about fun things that you can use that maybe you haven't used before. Let's talk about representing data. There are so many ways to do this. So let me show you a couple ways that we've done this, and probably others have done this also. So each of the children get to pick their favorite color and paint their square however they want. They can just paint it, they can make a shape, they can make a picture, whatever, using their favorite color. And then we actually get to do this whole representing, graphing it, figuring, and you can graph it vertically, but don't get stuck there. Also do horizontal graphing, really mix it up with kids so they get that flexibility in how they think about it. Then you can really talk about in our class, what's our class's most favorite color if you just took our whole class. And obviously in this picture, it's blue. But guess what? We got lots of other kids who like other colors too. And is that okay? Of course it is. And so it really talks about math, but there's always this great thing that you've got in there, language, you've got the social and emotional aspects. And how funny that I think it was, it was yellow that got 0 votes, poor yellow. So you can talk about more and less. They've been part of this, so they've created it. And it gives that ownership. Oh, yeah, Linda, absolutely. They love to do it. Terry, yes, you can throw in pink. I love pink, and absolutely. Nancy, making charts is huge in your classroom. Love that, sister. Good job. Okay, so try out a few of these things. Now, here's a different way that you may not have used art before. So in Fresno, I was privileged to be able to co-create 3 different visual arts integrated curricula where we used read alouds and we did math and science and just really fun things with. This was one from our, I think it was our TK class. It's been a few years. And I'm old now, so I can't remember things like I used to. So this is a Magritte. I do remember this painting is Magritte. And you might recognize his work. There's several that are like this, and so fun. And Magritte, there's a really fun Magritte children's book with a dog, and oh my gosh, it's so fun. I wish we had more time to talk about it. But and doesn't this look like it's from the 60s? Those of you who are familiar, if you ever watched Mad Men, right? It looks really similar. So here's something that we've done, and we did this with even our preschoolers, our little guys. After we had studied a couple of different prints and done some fun things, we would take the 2 posters and we put one over on kind of one side of, sort of the room, one on the other side, and children would go stand by. We called it our my preference chart. And they learned to say that. And they said, well, aren't we going to do a my preference activity or my preference chart? And so they learned that the word prefer or my preference is I get to choose. I like that one the best, and this is why. And even if they can just utter a couple of words like, I like the color, I like the apple, I like his face that's hidden. And of course, you can see this is one of our little gals with her face hidden behind the apple. Super fun, right? Like very memorable thing. Yes, Linda, it really gets them involved. Oh, I love the guess the friend idea, Elaine. Absolutely. But what's really cool is you can count the children and then do the X's in the 10 frame, or you can do tallies, or if you're not connecting it to kind of the 10 frame, you can just do the counting. And like I always say, throw in the cardinality question. So if you've counted, 12 kids who picked Magritte over I think that's a Saison in the where you can kind of see the little apple dish. Then finish with so how many chose Magritte? And everybody says 12. And so even if they're not quite sure, it really helps with that development because they're going to say it alongside the other children who maybe have that particular skill already baked in. So there's lots and lots of things you can do. You can do one-to-one correspondence with it. You can talk about more and less again. And it's also data. So they're talking about let's do this in a data chart so kids can actually have that mathematical reasoning. So fun. And kids really love to be able to see themselves in what they're learning. So my vote actually counted. Some of you might be feeling, oh, I'm not going to get political, but maybe that your vote did or didn't count. So their vote counts when they say, I like that one the best, right? And so they are invested in it, and even our littles can do it. And you can modify for even your toddlers, right? You would take it at a little bit different level, but I think you can try it. Terry, I love it. I promised myself I wouldn't say anything. Okay, so Prentice is an artist that is kind of famous for these apples in a hat. And we did, a lot of people do, like it was traditional, in TK or kindergarten to do the apples unit in September, right? How many times have we seen that, right? So this is what we did, is we had this is kindergarten. So we did, you can see our apple tasting graph, very similar to the painted one. Again, my vote counts. I've put my creativity in there. Yep, guess the amount is a really fun one. So you're really getting that idea of estimation. It is tradition, Nancy, it is. You can see the middle picture where they got to make their own individual fruit, but then it became part of a collaborative piece. And then you can see all the fun ways kids learn non-standard unit by measuring with apples. And I know like in preschool, licensing and others, like we're not really supposed to use food for this kind of thing. So, we want, maybe you have, pretend apples or something like that. So don't anybody yell at me about the real apples on the floor there. This was a kindergarten teacher who just kind of took it the extra mile. Yes, I love the guessing how many seeds are inside, right? And then of course you can do the star, which is so fun. Okay, so we're going to do a quick practice. I want you to look at Frida Kahlo. You've probably seen her. She's many self-portraits, but this is one of her self-portraits. And put in the chat, and you can answer any or all of these questions. What math and art aspects, or if you want to get fancy and say foundations and standards, do you see? How might you use the read aloud? And you can see the little book next to it, right? That's one of our children's books. And what activities could you do? What materials might you need? Okay, so I'm seeing a lot about symmetry. I love that. And I know we usually use like butterflies, right? That's the one that we tend to go to. Maybe you could do butterflies and this and kind of compare and contrast patterns, colors, blot painting. Yes, that is one of my favorites. Giving kids half of it and have them draw the other half, trying to be symmetrical, is kind of a kick in the pants. They love it. It's fun. Stamping. Yes. Tissue paper, another wonderful material. Yep, absolutely. Throw in the science there, you guys. You got it. Using a mirror is so fun for some symmetry, absolutely. And then you can look at these patterns that some of you guys are talking about, right? You can have them become Frida, right? So that they could make a headband with a certain pattern of their choice. They can tell you, is it a pink, red, pink, red? They could choose their own colors. Frida, this is a self-portrait. She decided what she wanted to do. When children are the artists, they should get to decide, right? Love, love everything you're putting in here. Use real flowers, use fake flowers. You got it. Shape identification, phenomenal answers. Let's try one more. So this is a Picasso. It's the rooster, le coq, and same questions. And if you've probably used a lot of Eric Carle books, if you've not used Roosters Off to See the World, love this with our little older pre-K, TK kids. There's this cool sequencing that happens. I think if you haven't checked this one out, check it out. Lots of fun to use this. What are some of the foundations, standards, or just, skill areas? How might you use this read aloud to support both the art and the math aspects? What activities might you come up with? What materials might you use? So questioning, Gina, you bring up a really important point. What are those questions that we can be asking our children? What do you see? What are the colors? What are the patterns? And even simply tell me what you see, and you listen for those math concepts that are coming out. And Picasso is a lot of fun. If you're not a super big art person in terms of like knowing your art history, that's totally cool. Learning it with the children is wonderful. You do not have to be the person who knows all the answers, right? I got the Gauguin wrong. I knew it like 10 years ago, but I forgot it. So honestly, it's okay to be wrong. Actually, I did it on purpose. No, I'm kidding. But it's okay to be wrong. And it's okay to say, I'm not sure. Let's look it up. Let's figure it out. So Elaine's got some great ideas for like mixed media, for looking at how would you make the feathers? How many feathers are there? How many feathers are you going to put on your rooster? Let's see. Let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and maybe an 8, right? So, and how many is that? That's 8. Well, maybe my rooster, I'm going to have 9, or I'm going to have 10, or maybe he's a baby and he's only going to have 4. So, Christina, I love this idea of layering the art and kind of doing it over time. Really, really interesting concept to do that. I love using other materials such as oil pastels or chalk pastels. We've done that with this particular project. This was actually one we used in TK, and there was some really cool using like a black construction paper and then using chalk pastels because they really are so bright, or oil pastels. And here's a little tip for you. If you use oil pastels, get some, if you can find newspapers. I know we had them all over the time back in the day, and make a little sort of a cushy pad of newspaper. And I used to, what I do is tape it around the edges. And those newspaper pads, I used them for like years. Now, here's a tip. If you're finding an old newspaper, make sure that you read like whatever's like pictured on it, because our news apparently has really like not such great things for 5-year-olds to see. So do make sure that you're not giving them a newspaper, that you don't want them to see the pictures on. Learn that one the hard way with some 3rd graders. Anyway, so you guys have some great ideas here. Yep. And showcasing this and with a bulletin board and asking the children, what do you want to display, is a really important part. Have them sign their work, because even if they're just kind of, trying it out for size, because that's what artists do. One other tip for you, and this is a game changer. So get your pencils out, get your pens out, and write this one down. Have them title their artwork. So we're going to go literacy for like 2 seconds here. Titling their artwork is I'm going to say it again, a game changer. And when we started doing that, I could not believe what I really understood about what they had put together, especially when they're little and their fine motor still just coming along. And You can't really tell exactly what it is. And you don't want to say, what's that? And of course, you use the, hey, tell me about it. And sometimes they tell you about it, but you're still not really sure. And then they title it and you say, oh my goodness, now I know the complexity of a child's mind, and we don't realize how clever they are. Um, and honestly, it's one of my favorites. And thank you, Linda. Yes, it's so important. Oh, Veranda, I totally agree with you. Calling them illustrators. Love that idea. I want to show you a class. This class is probably in middle school by now, at least, maybe high school. Do you see the artwork that's behind me? That's the pink, that's the collaborative class mixed media artwork that was done. It was a study of Monet and the water lilies, and they were so proud of their work. And the teacher was like, we're starting a new one. I don't know what to do with this. I don't want to just pick one parent to give it to. So guess what? I got it. And I love it. I've had it in 3 different offices now in my career, because this was probably 2015. I think it's 10 years old. Yeah, oh my goodness, you guys, that means they're in high school. I'm definitely feeling old. Okay, I want to give you some tips. Think about how you support all children. Remember, we were learning about those 5 steps, creating barrier-free. So my advice is supply some cut shapes, but not all, and use smaller pieces of construction paper for children to learn how to cut a square, a triangle, a circle. And if you're having children have a hard time with cutting, like holding their scissors, my sister is a retired pediatric PT, and OTs will tell you the same thing, is get them on their tummy and they have their elbows, like picture if I was like supine on the floor, if they have their elbows sort of underneath and they're cutting, it is a really great way to get they're using the little bit of trunk strength that they might have, and it helps them learn to cut. So tummy time for cutting for your littles on the carpet. Yes, I see ripping paper. I love this. I teach kids to get their pinchers out, and we pinch, just like a little pinching bug, right? Those, and you sometimes just see them in your classrooms, probably those little what are they called? I don't know. We call them pincher bugs, right? And learn how to, and this is hard because they want to do it in a gross motor way, and so they learn that the fine motor. This is a real OT type of trick. Turning the square into a circle by cutting the corners, and it kind of starts to become a rounded. Now, here's something about triangles. Now, earwigs, Michelle, thank you. That's what I was looking for. See, I need you guys to fill in my vocabulary for me and my artist knowledge. Go Gan. Now, oftentimes we fall back on triangular shapes and we keep showing kids triangles are this. But guess what? That's only one type of triangle. What about this? Or this one? Or this one? Or, whoop, that was all. Let's go back. So make sure that you show children and point them out in these really cool paintings. Triangles can be in all kinds of different, ways on the paper. What you don't want to do is call, and this is a Doug Clements thing, he's beat this into my head, is if things are sort of rounded on the corners, they're not actually triangles. So you might say, like a sandwich, right? A lot of times we show kids a picture of a sandwich, like cut diagonally, and we'll say, oh, it's a triangle. But most of the time, it's really rounded, not those real clear vertices. And so it's important to kind of say, yeah, it looks like a triangle, but show them the triangle has these 3 points, right? So just kind of knowing those things. And I'm not saying like, it's within reason when you're talking about really little kids, but because they're still generalizing to things, they don't call German Shepherds and Rottweilers, right? They call them all dogs. So they're learning how to sort of move from more generalized speech and categories to more finite kinds of things. So, do it within reason, but it's fair to say if those points are rounded, it's not really a triangle. Um, Let me show you a couple of things that have been really great in some classrooms that I've worked with. This was a Caillebotte, French artist. Um, and you may have seen the one I see a lot of his, like it's a really large one and it's two figures from the early 1900s. And there's a big umbrella and it's a rainy day in Paris. If that sounds familiar, that's kind of his most famous one that people will see. And I see it at, like in furniture stores and stuff like that. This one's a really great one of his Caillebottes to use for math. And you can see why, right? What do you see? How could you use this for math? Ah, there we go. Ooh, you could even throw some pricing in there. Absolutely. That's exactly what we did. Sorting, counting, grouping, categorizing. You can get pretend fruit. If you see in that corner, you'll see that there were different color fruit and vegetables that they had sorted. Currency, great for kids to practice that and pretend. So shapes, absolutely. So lots to do. And can you imagine how much more fun and engaging this is than just holding up, you know, um, circles or, just here's what color, here's what shape, here's what number. And then you start with those older kids, you really start using the numerals in conjunction, but you don't need to start there with our littles, right? You can have those where they can absorb, oh, a two looks like this, and this is two, and those two apples are two, right? I really like the idea of not getting so hung up on the numerals until, and I don't want to say do it all at the same time, but we don't need to drill and kill, right? This way they get engaged and they are truly living it. I know I'm preaching to the choir. So, okay, other materials that you can think about using, right? A zoom in frame. Now, what you do is you can take just a from the thrift store or an old frame you were going to throw out, right? And get it where you can just sort of hold it in your hand, and then you put it up to the poster or the digital showing of whatever art print, and have the children be able to sort of visually zoom in. If you want to say, let's count this bowl of apples, and you show like Prentice's apples in a hat, maybe you bring that frame in and you zoom it. Now you can use a digital zoom if you want to get fancy, but you can also use like an actual frame, and then you know what, put it into a center and your kids can do it. And it really kind of brings visually, narrows their visual field, so they're really sort of focused on counting whatever object or pictured object that you might have. And they're fun. Use fun different pointers. I'm thinking of all these things that are in these engagement factors, and then let the kids do it, right? They will, remember playing teacher? Well, the kids will do this, and it's how they build their knowledge and skill by using it. And they're actually sometimes the better teachers to their peers than even we are. We've talked about the different things that you can use. I know somebody had put in the chat using Q-tips and then using nature items. I love like getting, like those, like if you're out camping or something and just kind of scurry some things into a bag, like pine, turn up a little pine, oh my goodness, like a little branch that's got the pine needles, and make it into like a paintbrush and try that. Yes, twigs and just fun different things. And then kids will start to go, oh, look what I found. And they'll bring some, recycled crazy thing. And, there you go. They become again part of the community of learners. All right, we are getting close to time. So we have a few things to kind of just show you. One is I love this series that you can see, the Rosie Revere engineer. I love Ada Twist scientist, a little African American girl. Iggy Peck architect, super cute little kid on the front cover. And this is another way to kind of throw in some of that STEM, right? You've got some engineering, you've got some science going on. You can kind of go with that loose parts mentality where you've just got a whole bunch of materials. And then it's in your beautiful questioning of kids, open-ended as you can. And then of course you can even narrow into those, how many, or what did you use? And tell me about how many pieces, and is this longer? Who's this taller? Who's smaller versus larger? Have a little area in, ooh, I love the most magnificent thing. Yes, that's a great idea. What I would say too is some kids work slower at this. So if you have a little, you could even use a tray if you don't have a very large program area. But if you've got a classroom that's pretty big, maybe you have a shelf that we put a sign on it with, like, kind of looks like a construction zone, and says, work in progress or something like that, so that kids can go back to it over time. So many times we're rushing kids through things and we don't get what they really they need that time, right? That's removing that time barrier, like we were talking about. The bottom line for me in all of this is this, and I kept this poster in my office for many, many years, especially when I was actually directly with programs. You never want to get on a plane where the pilot learned to fly from worksheets. So these ideas and the ideas that our colleagues have put into the chat really tell us that there are so much better ways. They're more engaging. They're just as easy a lot of times for you as the teacher, because I'm mindful of the fact that you guys work so hard. And I think it takes longer to copy a bunch of things on the copier than just to have kids participate in bringing in different, recyclables or something that well, be careful, because this isn't always a good thing, but something they found on the sidewalk. Be mindful. Here's what I would like to do as we are coming to the end of our time together. Yes, I love what Linda put in the chat, right? Having that understanding that everybody is respectful of another child's individualized project, different than like when we do a collaborative art thing, where that's another session though. So we'll talk about that another time. So what I'd love you to do is, I usually do a 3 brave souls if I do this in person, but put in the chat something that you would like to try. Maybe it's something that you did a long time ago that you're like, oh yeah, I forgot. I need to do that. Or a new thing that you've either picked up from me or some of our beautiful colleagues in here. So let's see, what do you have? A collaborative mural. David, thank you for starting us off. Yep. Combining the painting idea with the read aloud. The colors, the data, yes. More recyclables. Beautiful. Ooh, you got so many great ideas, you guys. You can't even keep up. The graphing. Yep. 3D art for sure. Yeah. Oh my goodness. Beautiful. The color graphing. You can do that tomorrow. Really. You like right away you can do this. And you will see such a difference in when they get to say, I'm part of this. I'm involved. My opinion counts. And you even explicitly saying these things, that your preference, and it's not too big of a word, that's something you like. When you prefer or you have a preference, you like that. And we want to know what you like. How empowering is that? Beautiful. Miriam's got some ideas to try tomorrow with the shapes, using scissors on the tummy. Yep, I learned it from the best, my big sister. Love the robot, yes. And Robots Everywhere is a fun book that you can use. Yeah, I love it, you guys. Beautiful. will say, I thank you so much for your beautiful engagement. So interactive in the chat. I hope that you have enjoyed our time together. Again, I'm Julie. I am at the Sacramento County Office of Education. That's my cell phone. You are welcome to give me a holler, give me a text. If you're looking for resources, you can email me. I've got tons. And just if you're looking for, artsy stuff, we can help you out. And I really hope you have a beautiful evening. The next thing that you're going to do is actually go back to the lobby and Haley is going to close you out for the evening. And I wish you much art in math and science in your next weeks, months, and years with your littles. Take good care, everybody. Oh, thank you guys. You're my peeps. Thank you. Thank you. Have a great evening, everybody. Happy to make sure you get the PowerPoint. Thank you, Michelle. Good night, everybody. Elaine, if you're still on, I'm going to see if I can quickly grab the Magritte book. I think it's Where's My Hat? Oh, Magritte's Marvelous Hat. Magritte's Marvelous Hat, if you're still with me, Elaine. Linda, thank you. And thank you for all your ideas. Luce, I believe you'll need to go back to the lobby and they will be doing a closeout and we'll let you know about the evaluation. Yes, thank you, Naomi. Everybody go ahead on to the lobby. We'll see you back in there. Oh, I love it. Love from Thailand.